Good morning and welcome to Rising. We have a great Friday show for you as always. I'm always happy when I see Amber because I know it's the end of the week.
We're getting close.
How you doing today?
Oh, I'm hanging in there.
I like the blue suit.
Thank you. I got sick during the storm, so I'm still fighting for my life, but we're going to get through it.
Well, it's a good time to get sick. It's worse when you get sick in the summertime
That's
and then
true.
you're like, why is it hot?
Yeah,
So this
exactly.
is the perfect time. I hope you feel better.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Coming up on Rising, federal agents have arrested former CNN host Don Lemon after he entered a church during an anti-ICE protest.
Plus, President Trump made some comments about housing during his cabinet meeting that really raised some eyebrows, even on the right.
And Minnesota Governor Tim Walz said he is never running for office again. But first, Lindsey, what's in your lens?
We're talking about Georgia. When you hear the word FBI raid and elections facility in the same sentence, it immediately hits a nerve in this country. Because for years now, the lie that the 2020 election was stolen has been used like a match near dry grass. And now investigators with the Federal Bureau of Investigations have raided an elections facility in Atlanta, searching for materials related to the 2020 election. This happened at the Fulton County Election Hub in Union City, a place that has been at the center of election denial. Claims and part of that sweeping Georgia case against President Trump that ultimately fell apart and was dropped. But let's be clear about what's happening here. This isn't about election integrity. This is about obsession. An obsession with the fact that President Trump lost the race and a refusal to move on. Because the truth is the 2020 election, guys, was just not stolen. President Joe Biden won. States certified the results. Congress accepted the results. Biden was inaugurated in January 2021. Election security officials, including Republicans and people in Trump's own administration, said the election was secure. And when fraud happened, it was isolated and did not change the outcome. In 4 years, Trump and his allies have produced no evidence of widespread fraud. And we cannot forget what this looked like in real time. There was that hour-long call on January 2nd, 2020, with Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, first reported by the Washington Post, where Trump recycled debunked claims about dead voters, ineligible voters, mystery ballots, rigged machines. And still, Raffensperger insisted Georgia's election was fair and accurate. And then days later, Gabriel Sterling, a Republican and Georgia's voting system implementation manager, publicly batted down multiple false claims. And in that Raffensperger phone call, Trump asked him to find 11,780 votes, the exact number he needed to win the state. Prosecutors allege that Trump's team was planning to submit a slate of electors to try to give Trump the victory, while also pushing access to voting machine data. So when we see the FBI show up now with a court order to seize physical ballots, ballot images, and voter rolls from Fulton County's 2020 election, I think a lot of Americans are asking the same question. Why are we still here?
What should particularly concern us is, guess who showed up at this FBI raid? Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard has nothing to do with election security. Tulsi Gabbard has even been in charge of dismantling what was called the Foreign Malign Influence Center to try to make sure foreign countries don't interfere in our elections. This complete Trump loyalist somehow popping up on an FBI raid? What the heck was she doing?
And even beyond the raid itself, it's the pattern that stands out. This comes after the DOJ issued a complaint against Fulton County in December over 2020 election information. And it comes after the DOJ attempts to investigate Trump's perceived political enemies, including New York Attorney General Letitia James and former FBI Director James Comey, cases that were dismissed after a judge ruled Trump's handpicked prosecutor was unlawfully appointed. U.S. Senator John Ossoff responded and didn't mince words. Quote, after losing Georgia in 2020, Donald Trump demanded state officials find votes to change the outcome, tried to use DOJ to overturn it, and spread conspiracy theories that led to the January 6th sacking of the U.S. Capitol. He went on, quote, I suspect today's raid is a continuation of this sore losers crusade, despite repeated audits and independent reviews confirming that Donald Trump was indeed defeated. Now, Georgia Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock also released a statement saying, quote, the FBI should be focused on going after violent criminals, not carrying out political errands for a vengeful president. Republicans and Democrats agree the 2020 elections were accurate and secure. End of story. And that's really the bottom line. The country cannot keep relitigating an election that was decided, certified, reviewed, and confirmed. Look, people can be mad about losing. That's politics. But we can't keep rewriting reality every time someone doesn't like the outcome.
All right, so let's get into this. Were some things related to the Fulton County, specifically their tabulations and ballots, that were concerning, and I do think deserve and warrant an investigation. There were 6 individuals who were working on the polls who signed affidavits claiming that they witnessed malpractice in the counting of the ballots, and there was a court order demanding Fulton County turn over some of that data to election integrity groups. They never did. And just recently, last year, we found out that there were over 300,000 ballots that did not have poll worker signatures on them, as is required by state law. So I think, if the DOJ is able to get access to this and at least provide some assurance to a lot of people who do have concerns about what happened in the Fulton County process, even if it doesn't come out in Trump's favor, I think that would go a long way to people actually having greater trust in the system.
Yeah, I think people can say we don't trust local officials, but I also then think that the rebuttal to that is that local officials or people in Georgia or the American public may look at the administration and say, well, why should we trust now the FBI that raided and took these documents to bring them back exactly as is, to not change anything, to bring everything back in its original form? And that's some of the concern of the people that are even neutrally in this. Like, you guys are just taking all of the information, and now we don't know, like, what is the order of oversight involved in this to make sure that everything returns in its exact form, or we just have to take the federal government's word for it. And I think even recently it's more prevalent because of the response in Minnesota, which we're going to talk about and have been talking about for weeks. But we know that the federal government sometimes jumps to conclusions or tries to make their point quickly because it benefits them. That's happened. That's been an example for us most prevalently recently. So I think that that's the concern, is like, why are we relitigating this? Like you said, even if it's not in Trump's favor, if Democrats and several Republicans, maybe they're not saying it now, but said it privately or said it right after January 6th that this election was certified, why are funds and timing going here, trying to nitpick and find something in this county? And I've been critical of Fani Willis, just to be clear about the full case. I'm on record going off about the fact that that ball was dropped in hiring your boyfriend and everything that happened. But also, Trump's prosecutor got let go, while Letitia James is not getting prosecuted. So everybody is making these mistakes of putting the wrong people in wrong positions. But I just think that we need to focus at hand. Like, Trump lost the election, and that's just a fact. And I think the fact that we are continuously talking about January 6th and seeing what happened, and people are still believing that the election was stolen, that's the bigger problem to me.
I guess there were verified instances, though, in the 2020 election of issues with chain of custody for the ballots, issues with ballots being certified past the election date that was supposed to be allowed by law, state law. There were issues with individual poll workers signing affidavits in multiple states saying that the process wasn't done correctly. And the reason why we didn't really get closure on this, in my opinion, is because pretty much all of the lawsuits that Trump's team brought weren't dismissed because the investigation or a recount found that the claims were inaccurate, but they were thrown out for process-based reasons. So we never really did have an audit of the election, and that's why I think there's these lingering questions about what exactly happened.
So what happens if we put this to bed in Georgia? If it's like Trump lost and we went through these ballots, are we going to remove the January 6th website that just went up that says that he still lost the election from the administration? Is Trump going to come out and say, I lost? Like, I just can't see that even happening, but he needs to quell the worries of people.
That's kind of irrelevant to me. I mean, I just personally think a lot of people that I've talked to who felt like things were not on the up and up outside of the Trump administration would have a lot greater confidence if they were able to actually see the data.
Okay. Tom Homan promising to reduce the number of ICE officers in Minnesota, but only if local leaders start cooperating. We'll be right back.